Every empire in history, ranked on a single scale, from 500,000 square kilometers to 35 million. From kingdoms that controlled a single river valley, to empires the sun never set on. We begin at the bottom. And even here, these are not small stories. The Zulu built a military machine that humbled the British army on African soil. Carthage sent Hannibal across the Alps with war elephants, nearly ending Rome before Rome had even begun. The Sikh Empire held northern India with a professional force that gave the East India Company its hardest campaigns. The Khmer Empire built Angkor Wat, the largest religious structure ever constructed, and dominated Southeast Asia for 3 centuries. The Aztec Triple Alliance controlled central Mexico with a tribute network so precise that it would partially survive the conquest in modified form. Sweden once held the Baltic Sea so completely that contemporaries called it a Swedish lake. Every ruler you see here was, at their peak, the dominant force in their world. The maps look contained, but none of these empires thought in terms of contained. They thought in terms of permanent. As the territory grows, so does the ambition. Mansa Musa of Mali was the richest human being in recorded history. When he made his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324, he brought so much gold that he crashed the Egyptian economy for over a decade. His empire funded universities, mosques, and trans-Saharan trade routes that connected sub-Saharan Africa to the Mediterranean world. Charlemagne's Carolingian Empire was the political blueprint for what would become France, Germany, and the idea of a unified Christian Europe. The Kievan Rus planted the roots of Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus in a single medieval state. Yaroslav the Wise built one of the largest cathedrals of the medieval world and married his children into every major European royal family. Cao Cao, warrior, poet, and one of history's greatest political strategists, unified northern China under the Wei dynasty and set the stage for an era Chinese culture still romanticizes 2,000 years later. The Delhi Sultanate held the subcontinent long enough to keep the Mongol tide from crossing into India. The Safavid Empire made Persia permanently Shia, a decision that still shapes the Middle East today. One pattern runs through this section of the list: the steppe nomad. Scythians, Kuman Kipchak, Khazars, Roran. Confederations with no cities, no fixed walls, no permanent infrastructure. And yet they commanded millions of square kilometers. Their empire was the horse. Their infrastructure was speed. At 2.5 million square kilometers, an empire spans what today would be 6 or 7 modern nations. And we are still less than halfway up this ranking. From here, every empire on this list once determined the fate of an entire civilization. 3 million square kilometers. At this scale, an empire does not border its neighbors. It replaces them. The Seljuk Turks dealt the Byzantine Empire its fatal wound and triggered the Crusades. Qin Shi Huang did not just conquer China, he invented it. Standardized weights, measurements, writing, coinage, and roads. The name China itself comes from Qin. The Byzantine Empire kept Roman law and Greek philosophy alive for 1,000 years after Rome fell, and then gave both back to the Renaissance. Under Justinian I, it built the Hagia Sophia, codified Roman law, and reconquered North Africa, Italy, and Spain in a single reign. Alexander the Great crossed from Greece to India in 11 years, merging the Greek and Persian worlds so completely that the fusion outlasted his own empire by centuries. He founded over 20 cities on 4 continents and opened trade corridors that would function for 1,000 years after his death. The Tang dynasty was the most cosmopolitan empire of the medieval world. Its capital, Chang'an, was the largest city on earth, pulling in merchants, monks, scholars, and diplomats from every direction. Darius the Great's Achaemenid Persia was the first empire in history to span 3 continents and 3 major civilizations simultaneously. The Han Dynasty extended the Silk Road from the Pacific toward the Mediterranean. The Göktürk Khaganate stretched from the Korean Peninsula to the Black Sea, a single political entity covering the entire Eurasian landmass. The Rashidun Caliphate went from the Arabian Peninsula to the borders of India and the gates of Spain in under 30 years. At 6 million square kilometers, we are looking at 1/6 of all land on Earth, and the scale is about to change again. Only 12 empires in all of recorded history ever crossed 10 million square kilometers. You are about to see every one of them. These are no longer empires of territory. They are empires of ocean. Portugal, a country smaller than the state of Indiana, built a maritime network stretching from Brazil to Japan and claimed it as their personal world. Spain followed, and for 2 centuries controlled more of the Earth's surface than any power that had ever existed. The Qing dynasty expanded China to its greatest territorial extent in history. The Turkic Khaganate united the entire Eurasian steppe in a single generation. Then the Soviet Union. Then the Russian Empire, spanning 11 time zones from Warsaw to the Pacific. Then the Mongol Empire, the largest contiguous land empire in the history of the world, assembled in a single lifetime by a man who began with nothing but a tribe. And finally, the British Empire, 35.5 million square kilometers, 1 in 4 people on Earth, under 1 flag. The scale has no precedent. It will have no successor.